Shalom, friends, and welcome to Walking the Ancient Path, where we journey back into the language, landscape, and life rhythms of the Scriptures in a lighter, more accessible way, exploring the world of the Bible as its original listeners would have experienced it.
Today we'll pick up our exploration of the book of Galatians verse by verse and unpack each passage within the context of organic ancient Hebrew thought, formatted like a living Hebrew commentary.
Let's pick up where we left off in Galatians chapter 5.
Verse 10. I have confidence in you through the Lord, that you will be none otherwise minded. But he that troubles you shall bear his judgment, whosoever he be.
I am confident in the Master concerning you, that you will not think otherwise. But the one who is troubling you will bear his judgment, whoever he may be.
I have confidence in you through the Lord. Paul's confidence isn't in their strength but in Yahweh's faithfulness, trusting the shepherd to protect his flock, even when wolves surround. That you will be none otherwise minded. He expects them to return to the straight path, not to stay twisted by false persuasion. But he that troubles you. The agitator, whether a teacher or group who stirs confusion among them, a raider stirring up dust at the edge of the camp, scattering the sheep, shall bear his judgment, a solemn word. Yahweh himself will hold the deceiver accountable. The judge at the city gate will weigh his actions and deliver a sentence. Whosoever he be, no reputation or status will protect the false teacher from divine justice.
Verse 11. And I, brethren, if I yet preach circumcision, why do I yet suffer persecution? Then is the offense of the cross ceased.
But brothers, if I were still proclaiming circumcision, why would I still be persecuted? In that case, the stumbling block of the wooden stake would be removed.
If I yet preach circumcision, some may accuse Paul of inconsistency. He insists if he preached circumcision as necessary, he wouldn't face attack. Why do I yet suffer persecution? His persecution itself shows he does not preach circumcision. In Hebrew imagery, stones thrown at him are proof that he advocates freedom, not slavery. Then is the offense of the cross ceased. The etz, tree or wooden stake, was a scandal because it revealed that the Torah and human pride are powerless to save. If circumcision were enough, the shame of the Messiah's death would no longer be offensive. The sharp edge of the blade would be dulled, and the stone of stumbling would be removed.
Verse 12. I would they were even cut off which troubled you.
I wish that those who are unsettling you would go the whole way and cut themselves off.
I would they were even cut off. A deliberately sharp word. Paul is likely using the imagery of circumcision. If they are so obsessed with cutting, let them mutilate themselves completely, exposing the foolishness of their demand. Which trouble you? These agitators are the ones causing confusion in the Galatian camp, men slipping between tents at night, untying cords to collapse the shelters. Paul's tone here is fierce and protective. Like a shepherd driving off wolves, his words are blunt because the danger is deadly.
Verse 13. For brethren, you have been called unto liberty. Only use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh, but by love serve one another.
For you, brothers and sisters, were called into freedom, but do not use that freedom as a doorway for the flesh. Instead, through love, become servants of one another.
Called unto liberty. Their freedom is no accident. It is Yahweh's call, the Father calling his children out of slavery to live as heirs in the open field. Use not liberty for an occasion to the flesh. Freedom can be twisted into self-indulgence. In imagery, breaking chains only to run wild into thorns. Paul warns that freedom is not license for selfishness. But by love serve one another. The paradox. True freedom shows itself in willing servanthood. In Hebrew imagery, bending low to wash a brother's feet by the fire, not because forced, but because love drives it. Paul's thrust here is that freedom in the Messiah is not about self, but about covenant love, each serving the other as Messiah himself served.
Verse 14. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this: Thou shalt love your neighbor as yourself.
For the entire Torah is brought to fullness in a single word: You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
All the law is fulfilled. Fulfilled, pleru, means brought to its fullness, completed. The whole Torah is like a jar filled to the brim by this one command. In one word, Torah's hundreds of commands merge into a single heartbeat, a mighty river traced back to one spring. Thou shalt love your neighbor as yourself. From Leviticus 19:18, covenant love, ahava, flows outward from the heart, binding the community together like sinew holding the body whole. Loving one's neighbor is not just sentiment, but active loyalty, care, and sacrifice. Paul's thrust here is that the Torah's goal is not ritual badges, but embodied love, the fruit of genuine trust.
Verse 15. But if you bite and devour one another, take heed that you be not consumed one of another.
But if you tear and devour one another, watch out, or you will be destroyed by one another.
Bite and devour. Animal imagery like wild beasts fighting in the wilderness, ripping flesh instead of living as one flock. Take heed. A warning call, like a watchman on the wall shouting to prevent disaster before it consumes the camp. That you be not consumed. Division, strife, and quarrels will not only wound but also completely destroy the community. Fire started within the tent, burning down the entire dwelling.
Verse 16. This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh.
So I say, walk by the Ruach, and you will not carry out the cravings of the flesh.
Walk in the Spirit. Walk is a daily rhythm of life. In Hebrew imagery, setting one's steps along the covenant path, guided by the breath of Yahweh. The Ruach is like the wind filling a traveler's lungs, providing strength for each step. You shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Sarx, for flesh here, refers to human nature turned inward, centered on self. In imagery, a beast pulling on the leash, dragging a man off the trail. Paul's approach is that the only way to conquer the flesh isn't through stricter rules but by walking filled with the Ruach, leaning on the shepherd's staff, matching his steps, so that the cravings of the flesh lose their power.
Verse 17. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would.
For the flesh desires what is against the Ruach, and the Ruach desires what is against the flesh. These stand opposed to each other, so that you do not do what you want.
The flesh desires against the Ruach. Human nature turned inward desires self-rule, resisting Yahweh's breath, a stubborn ox pulling against the yoke, straining toward its own path. The Ruach against the flesh, Yahweh's breath presses in the opposite direction, leading toward Kadosh, holiness, and Hayim, life. The wind of Yahweh's sky kingdom rule filling their sails, driving the person against the current of human nature. A person called holy lives set apart from the ordinary ways of human nature, devoted to Yahweh's covenant path, continuing in Yahweh's covenant blessing. Choose life. Deuteronomy 30:19. So that you cannot do the things you would. The follower of Yeshua feels this tension. Desire is torn between two masters. Without the Ruach's leading, flesh pulls the heart away. With the Ruach, flesh is resisted. Paul describes the struggle every son and daughter of promise faces.
We'll pause here and continue in our next episode.
If you listeners have areas of interest you'd like to explore further, questions, or comments, please don't hesitate to let us know.